I used to deliver pizzas when I was 19. It was a small family place just outside of Indianapolis. The tips were decent, surprisingly. It was a quiet town for the most part. Most nights were routine: knock, hand off the food, get paid, and move on. But there's one delivery I'll never forget. It was my last night working there. It was close to 10:45 p.m., about 15 minutes before closing. I was cleaning up the prep counter when the phone rang. The owner, Tony, picked up and gave me that look. The "one last delivery before we shut down" look. He said, "The house is out on County Line Road. It's a cash order for 2 larges. Do you mind?" I sighed, but nodded. The address was about 6 miles out, near the edge of town where the neighborhoods start turning into farmland. The order came from a number we didn't recognize, but that wasn't unusual. People use burners or landlines sometimes. I loaded up, grabbed the pizza bag, and headed out. It was one of those cloudy nights where the sky looks bruised. No moon and no stars. The further I drove, the fewer streetlights there were. Eventually, the houses got sparse, and the GPS told me to take a right down a gravel road. I almost turned back right there. The place was pitch black, with no mailboxes or house numbers. After about half a mile, I finally saw it. A small farmhouse with a single light on in the window. The yard was overgrown, and there was a rusted car parked sitting in the grass. I parked near the front porch, grabbed the pizzas, and walked up. The porch creaked under my feet. I knocked on the door. Nothing. I knocked again, louder this time. "Pizza delivery," I called out. Still nothing. Then, from inside, I heard what sounded like movement. Slow, heavy footsteps crossing a wooden floor. The door opened a few inches. A man's voice said, "Yeah?" He didn't open it all the way. I couldn't really see his face, just a sliver of his shoulder and his hand. Pizza for County Line Road," I said, holding up the bag. He paused. "How much?" "$23.40, I replied. He didn't say anything for a few seconds, then said, "I'll get the cash. Wait here." The door closed. I stood there for about a minute, then another. No sounds from inside. I checked my phone, but there was no service, of course. After another 30 seconds, I knocked again. "Hey man, you still there?" That's when I heard something. Footsteps, but not from the front room. They were coming from around the side of the house. I could hear gravel crunching beneath their feet. I turned toward my car and saw the silhouette of a man walking toward me from the dark corner of the house. Except, he wasn't walking to the front door. He was walking around my car. I started backing up. "Sir?" I called out. He didn't answer, just stopped and stared at me. That's when I saw another shape move inside the house. Someone was peeking through the curtain. There were at least 2 of them. Every hair on my neck stood up. I dropped the pizza bag, sprinted to my car, and slammed the door shut. The man by the car lunged forward, but I had already hit the locks and started the engine. He pounded once on the window, hard enough to leave a smudge, then backed away into the dark as I peeled out, gravel spraying behind me. I didn't stop until I was back on the main road. When I finally got cell service again, I called Tony, and I told him what happened and gave him the address. He said, "That's not even a real address. County Line doesn't go out that far." I double-checked the GPS log. It showed the pin right in the middle of an unmarked area, basically a field. The next day, I stopped by the police station and told them everything. They went out to check. They found the house, but it was abandoned, boarded up, with no electricity running or furniture inside. They said it hadn't been lived in years. But they did find something in the yard. A still warm pizza bag. The one I had left at the house the night before. Back in 2019, I worked part-time for a small pizza place in western Pennsylvania called Angelo's. It was mostly regulars and small-town families. Nothing too crazy. But every once in a while, we'd get an address way out on the edge of our delivery zone. A trailer park, a hunting cabin, or some random old house no one had ever heard of. One Friday night, the phone rang. A man ordered a large pepperoni and a 2-liter. The address was on a road called Mill Creek Road, about 10 minutes past the industrial district. A dead stretch of road that eventually turned into gravel and woods. The guy's voice sounded calm but strange, slow, almost like he was thinking in between words. He said, "You'll have to come around back. The stairs go down to the basement door." That line stuck with me. Basement door. It was raining. Steady, cold rain that blurred the windshield and made the wipers squeal. I kept replaying his voice in my head. Come around back. Every delivery driver knows that phrase means watch yourself, or at the very least, just be careful. The GPS pin dropped on an older house about a half a mile off the main road. It was 2 stories with the shutters hanging loose. It had one porch light on, barely flickering. There was no other car in the driveway. I parked, grabbed the pizza bag, and started toward the front door. The house looked empty. No lights were on inside. I knocked anyway. Nothing. Then, I heard a muffled voice from behind the house. Down here. I walked around back. There was an old storm cellar type door, halfway open, leading down a few concrete stairs into what looked like a basement. A single bare bulb flickered at the bottom, barely lighting a doorway. The smell hit me first, damp and earthy, like wet cement. I called out, "Pizza delivery." The voice came again, much closer this time. "Come in, it's unlocked. I'll get the cash." I took one step down, but something felt off. The light inside wasn't steady. It was swinging, like someone had bumped the cord. I hesitated. "Sir, can you come to the door?" Silence. Then, from deeper in the basement, came the faint creak of a floorboard, and the sound of someone breathing. Not quick or panicked, just slow, steady breathing. That's when I noticed a shape in the corner, a tall outline, standing just out of the light, facing the stairs. Before I could back away, I heard another voice, this one from behind me. A woman shouted, "Hey, you shouldn't be here." I spun around. An older woman in a raincoat was standing at the edge of her yard, next door with a flashlight in hand. "What?" I stammered. She walked closer. "That house is empty. It's been empty since last year." I looked back down the steps. The light was still swinging, but the shape was gone. I didn't wait to investigate. I muttered something like, "Thanks," dropped the pizza bag on the porch, and ran to my car. By the time I pulled out, the porch light flickered off completely. Back at the shop, I told my boss what happened. He tried calling the number from the order slip, but it went straight to a disconnected message. We wrote it off as a prank until the next afternoon, when I got a call from the county sheriff's office. They said someone found an abandoned pizza bag on a porch off Mill Creek Road and wanted to confirm I'd left it. I said yes, explained the situation, and asked what was in that house. The deputy said, "Nobody lives there now. The basement's full of debris." Then he paused and said something that still gives me the chills. The only thing in that basement was a set of muddy footprints leading up to the stairs and back out to the woods. About a week later, my manager called me into the office. He had pulled the dashcam footage from my car. We used them for insurance reasons just in case. You can see me pull up, walk to the porch, then circle towards the back of the house. About 30 seconds later, while I'm off camera, another figure steps out of the trees behind my car. Tall, wearing dark clothes, with no umbrella despite the rain. He walks right up to the trunk, stands there for a few seconds, then disappears out of frame again. You can hear me shout "pizza delivery" right after. This confirms that someone else had been out there. I only worked that job a few more months, but after this, whenever someone said to come around back, I always tried to get them to meet me out front. I can only imagine what I nearly escaped walking into that night. I used to deliver pizzas for a small franchise in the downtown of a large city. It wasn't a bad job, the pay was decent, and most nights were easy. But the part that always got to me were the high-rise deliveries. Buzzing up elevators that smelled like bleach, those long silent hallways where every door looked the same. You could walk 10 feet and feel completely cut off from the rest of the world. Something about those kinds of deliveries just made me feel super uncomfortable. It didn't help that I always did the late night shift. It was a Friday night, around 11:15. I had one last delivery before closing, a large pepperoni and breadsticks. The address was an older apartment complex near the edge of the city. It was 12 floors. Most of the tenants were older folks or college kids. The note on the ticket said, "Come to the 9th floor, apartment 908. Knock softly." When I got there, the lobby was empty except for a security guard sitting behind the front desk watching TV. He barely looked up when I came in. The elevator made that tired old groaning sound as it climbed. When it stopped on 9, the doors opened to a long hallway with flickering lights. It was quiet, not a single sound from any of the units. I found 908 halfway down. The door was slightly ajar, just a crack of darkness visible inside. I knocked gently, like the note had said. A voice from inside whispered, "Come in, please. I'm in the back." That wasn't unusual. People with kids or pets did that all the time. But something about the tone bothered me. It didn't sound rushed or casual. It sounded tired. It's kind of hard for me to explain what I mean. Still, I pushed the door open. The place was dim. A single lamp was on near the corner, but most of the lights were off. I stepped inside, holding the pizza bag. "Hello?" I called out. "In here," the voice said again, from a room down the hallway. As I walked deeper in, I noticed the smell. Not bad exactly, just wrong. Like stale air. Maybe something burnt, but it was hard to tell for sure. Halfway down the hall, I stopped. There was a photo frame on the floor. The glass was shattered, and the picture was face down. And next to it, a small pile of mail. All the envelopes were addressed to Unit 906, not 908. Before I could turn around, I heard a door shut softly, somewhere behind me. I spun around and saw a man standing by the entrance. He was bald, wearing dark sweats and holding what looked like a screwdriver. He just stood there, staring at me. I said, "Hey, sorry, I think I got the wrong apartment." He didn't answer, just tilted his head slightly and said, "You knocked, didn't you?" My throat went dry. "Yeah, for 908. He smiled a little. "That's not this one." He stepped closer, dragging the screwdriver across the wall as he moved. I backed away toward the hallway, saying, "Look, man, I'll just leave the pizza." He cut me off. "Who told you to knock softly?" That's when I bolted. I sprinted past him, through the door and down the hall. Somehow I got around him just before he could grab me. Fortunately, I'm in good shape. I could hear his footsteps behind me, slow but heavy. I slammed the elevator button like 10 times, but it was too slow, so I ran for the stairwell instead. When I reached the lobby, completely out of breath from running down 9 flights of stairs, the security guard jumped up. "What the hell's going on?" he said. I told him what happened, and he grabbed his radio and called it in to someone. A few minutes later, 2 cops arrived, and they went upstairs to investigate. When they came back down, they told us what they found. Apartment 908 was empty. The lights were off, and the door was locked from the inside. Apartment 906, the one I'd actually gone into, was supposed to be vacant. The last tenant had moved out 3 weeks earlier, but the cops said there were signs someone had been living there. There was a sleeping bag, food wrappers, and tools scattered on the floor. They never found the man I saw, however. I quit that job about a month later. I couldn't shake the memory of that man's voice, calm, like he wasn't surprised to see me. I was extra careful from that point forward about reading the house or apartment numbers on the order. I triple-checked every time. When I got home that night, I looked at the ticket again. The handwriting for the 908 address looked off. I realized at that point it wasn't an 8 after all. The order had originally been written for 906.